You are Locked On Knicks POSTCAST, part of Locked On Sports New York on the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
All right, the Knicks had two miraculous comebacks in the Boston series. They now have one miraculous comeback in the Indiana series. Knicks come from 20 down tonight. They beat the Pacers and, for all intents and purposes, keep their season alive. 106-100. As we said at one point, the Knicks were down 20. Quite a fourth quarter from Karl Anthony Towns. We'll get into it. Jalen Brunson, no surprise, clutch late. We'll get into it. And after the 106-100 win, the Knicks, as we said, now back in the series. It's 2-1 Indy. Hi, everyone. I'm Jay Berman. If you're a New Yorker, you might recognize my work. I've spent more than 2 decades in the biz, everything from TV to web to radio. Please follow me on X at Jay Berman, Jayberman. Welcome to the Locked On Knicks postcast, both on the Locked On Sports New York YouTube channel and the Locked On Knicks podcast feed. The postcast gives you a place to hang out after every single Knicks game. We're part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every single day.
This is what you'll be talking about.
All right, really an amazing night. It's been an amazing run. It's been an amazing playoffs throughout the NBA, specifically with the Knicks. Obviously, that's what we're focused on here on the Knicks postcast. But again, a miraculous comeback. As we said, Knicks were down 0-2 in the series and down 20 on the road. And if you listen to Twitter, which for the most part we don't, but if you did, it was done. Knicks had their backs against the wall, season on the line, essentially a must-win half, and they got the job done. What's interesting about the way it started, and you can ask Reggie Miller because he'll certainly tell you, it was 20-point lead for the Pacers late second quarter, and the Knicks went on a mini 10-3 run to cut it to 13. And Reggie Miller said, point to this specific time in the game because he didn't like the way the Pacers finished the first half. Well, an amazing run, late third quarter, early fourth quarter for New York, a 23-7 run. And obviously the Knicks were down 20 at one point, and they stormed back to take the lead in the fourth. They hadn't led since early in the first, but again, what an amazing turnaround. Now, as for the numbers, we told you about Karl Anthony Towns. What a fourth quarter, really out of nowhere. He had 4 points the first 3 quarters. He had 20 in the fourth quarter alone. Karl Anthony Towns finishes with 24 and 15 rebounds. He was a beast. And again, because of it, the Knicks are very comfortably back in the series. What's interesting about tonight is it started differently. Obviously, no Josh Hart in the starting lineup. Instead, they went to Mitchell Robinson. Well, as for the minutes, well, Mitchell Robinson played 29 and Josh Hart played 34. So you knew Hart would eventually pass Robinson in minutes. That's exactly what went down. Regardless, it was an interesting, we won't call it Hail Mary, but it was certainly some desperation from Tibbs in flipping the starting lineup. Now, to be honest, didn't think it was necessary, and I didn't think it was for the right guy, but I was wrong. I was certainly wrong because Josh Hart ended up playing nearly 35 minutes, and Karl Anthony Towns, who was the guy I would have replaced Robinson with at least to start the game, well, he showed up in the fourth quarter, which he might have been in anyways, regardless of the start or not. But again, an interesting start to this game and a little bit of desperation from Tibbs, which you can't blame him for. They were in 0-2 hole, and of course, you know by now, no team in NBA history has come back from an 0-3 deficit. Don't have to worry about it in this series because the Knicks win it. The Knicks are now 6-1 on the road in the playoffs. What's interesting is everything seems to be flipped upside down these playoffs. As you know by now, the Knicks have been struggling at home, and they've been great on the road. 6-1, as we said, on the road in these playoffs. The only loss on the road, obviously, was in Boston for the second to last game of the Celtics series. That was the lone road loss. Also interesting tonight is the fact that, believe it or not, it was the first playoff win in that building for the Knicks. They were previously 0 for 9. Now, the building opened in 2000, and we know how long the Knicks have been bad for. But again, momentous occasion. They come from 20 down to get their very first win in that building. Now, some things were on the line for the Pacers as well. Now, still, obviously, just 2 wins away from their first NBA Finals since 2000. That was the last time the Knicks were in the Eastern Conference Finals. What's also interesting, and this is a weird one, the Pacers have played now, obviously, 3 rounds of basketball, so 3 game 3s. They've lost all game 3s, all 3 of them, and it's the only games they've lost in the postseason, the game 3 in each of the first 3 series. What's also interesting is that the Pacers had not lost at any point this postseason when leading after 3 quarters. That changes. They obviously had the lead. It was diminished, but they had the lead heading into the final stanza. And again, it's now 6-1. They were 6-0. They're 6-1 now when leading after 3 quarters. Just goes to show how amazing that comeback was. Now, the Knicks had 28 turnovers in the first 2 games. They had 12 tonight, and obviously some key ones. But that's something that needs to get flipped around, that needs to get changed. That's now 40 turnovers in 3 games for the Knicks. That's a terrible average. Obviously, not where they want to be. And points off the turnovers, Pacers are much better at it than the Knicks are. As for the 3-point shooting, the Knicks were just 11 of 32. As for the Pacers, well, they hit 5 3-pointers, just 5 of 25. Now, free throws. We discussed free throws. If you've been with us all season long, yeah, we talk about it. And usually in the middle of the regular season, it doesn't mean much. Well, it meant a lot tonight. The Knicks from the line tonight were 27 of 30. Meanwhile, the Pacers, they missed 6 free throws, and you can bet down the stretch that made a difference. Mikal Bridges played 37 minutes, had 15 points. He was invisible, really, for the first 30 to 35 minutes of the game, but certainly bounced back in the fourth quarter. OG was quiet as well, despite having 16. You know about Cat's night, considering how maligned he was, 24 and 15 for Cat. That's pretty good. Mitchell Robinson was ineffective and pretty quiet, despite the fact that he played 29 minutes. Something tells me they go back to Josh Hart for the starting lineup in game number 4 in 2 nights. 23 for Jalen Brunson. The problem with Brunson tonight, and Cat was in foul trouble as well, Brunson had 5 fouls. He did not play most of the fourth quarter. When he returned, 1:37 to play in the fourth quarter. And what do you know? He hits clutch free throws after clutch free throws. In fact, he was 10 for 10 from the line tonight, all of them clutch. Just tremendous stuff from Jalen Brunson. Again, he didn't have it from the floor, just 6 of 18 for 23 points. But he played 31 minutes, and in those 31 minutes, obviously the free throws were the key. 11 of 32 from 3, as we said, for the Knicks. And again, they win at 106-100. Player of the game coming up next, and obviously the schedule as well. Knicks win and are back in the series. All right, ever check your bank account and wonder, where did all the money go? Well, between dining out, online shopping, and entertainment, it's easy to lose track. That's where Monarch Money comes in. It's your personal CFO giving you full visibility and control over your finances. Monarch Money isn't just a budgeting app. It's a complete financial command center. You can track all your accounts, investments, and spending in one place, so you stop just managing your money and start building wealth. When I started using Monarch, I realized just how much I was spending on, get this, food delivery. Now, I budget smarter and save more. All in one convenience. Instead of juggling multiple apps, you can use Monarch to check your finances, track spending, and even plan long-term goals. Managing money with your partner is smoother than ever. You can track shared and personal accounts, set goals, stay on the same page without the stress. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONNBA at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. That's monarchmoney.com, code LOCKEDONNBA for half off your first year. All right, we are back, and it's our favorite time of the show.
This is the Locked On Player of the Game.
All right, this one was easy. It's Karl Anthony Towns, who, as we said, was pretty bad for the first three quarters, was pretty unstoppable in that fourth quarter, and that's all that matters. He leads the Knicks to a win, a much-needed win, a win, in fact, you could safely call it a must-win, because if the Knicks were in an 0-3 hole, obviously the odds are against it, but it's never happened in the history of the NBA postseason, a team coming down from an 0-3 deficit. So, down 20, down 0-2 in the series. That's it, folks. Talk about backs against the wall. That's as close as it gets to a must-win. And the Knicks turned things around. As we said, Cat, the player of the game, had 20 points in that fourth quarter. Cat was 8 of 17 from the floor, had 3 3-pointers, and again, 15 rebounds to go along with his 24 points, and was a +6. By the way, two interesting machinations of the starting lineup, or at least of the lineup, if you will. Here are several lineups that caught my eye that you still wouldn't believe if we told you. At one point in the second quarter, and that's when the Knicks were down 20, DeLon Wright, Landry Shamet, Josh Hart, OG, and Towns. Strange. Wait, in the third quarter, when the Knicks start to make their run, it's McBride, Shamet, Wright, Hart, and Robinson. Folks, the Knicks had 2 all-star starters. And it just goes to show, you may not have those guys in for a run, but down the stretch, when it matters most, Cat and Brunson, they got the job done. The all-stars. So who cares who starts? It doesn't matter, despite the fact that it seems like Josh Hart would be put back in there for Mitchell Robinson. Not that Mitchell Robinson was terrible. He was just ineffective at the very least. All right. As for the schedule, no rest for the weary. We're going every 2 days now. Tuesday night, again, in Indianapolis, will be game 4. Meanwhile, game 5 will be Thursday. So Tuesday and Thursday, games 4 and 5. Now, if we need games 6 and 7, 6 would be Saturday night. 7 would be the following Monday, a week from tomorrow. So at the very most, we've got about 8 days left on the schedule. Again, Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday, Monday, every other day as we get set for games 4 and 5. Obviously, 5 back in the Garden on Saturday night. Hopefully that won't be the final game at the Garden this season. We'll have to wait and see. But again, this sets up a pivotal game 4. As for the Pacers' numbers, well, they were led by Tyrese Halliburton, who had 20. He was the only Pacer with at least 20 points. Pascal Siakam, a quiet night, relatively speaking, after the 39-point performance. He had 17. Miles Turner had 19. TJ McConnell was a pest. He had 12. But again, a choke job and an excellent job, all tidied up into one little spot. Awesome job by the Knicks. Give them all the credit in the world. What were the Pacers doing up 20? Basically calling off the dogs at that point. And Reggie Miller pointed it out multiple times. 1, when it happened, and then 2 in the fourth quarter when he essentially said, I told you so. I told you so. That run, late second quarter, the 10-3 run to end the first half, changed everything. It really did. And then the late third quarter, early fourth quarter, 23-7 run, and away we go. Knicks were awesome. All right, thanks for making Locked On Sports New York your first listen today. For your second listen, check out Locked On NBA Game Night, every game, every night, until an NBA champion is crowned. Get local analysis on a national scale. Find NBA Game Night on Locked On NBA on YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts. Also want to mention our partners in crime over at Locked On Knicks. That's Gavin Scholl and Alex Wolf. Follow, subscribe, and enjoy. As we said, 106-100, Karl Anthony Towns. How about it? 20 points in the fourth quarter. Knicks were down 20 at one point. And no need to remind you, no team has ever come out of an 0-3 hole in the NBA postseason. Don't have to worry about that, at least not in this round. Again, 106-100. Game number 4 will be Tuesday night. And of course, We here on the Knicks Postcast will be with you immediately following that game. See you in 48.